Hey, what's up everybody? Commander Radix here, bringing you another episode of Transformers Lore. In this episode, we're going to be covering one of the most important events in Transformers lore. We're going to be looking at, in broad strokes, the events of the Beast Wars. But before we get into the main topic of this video, I'd like to mention that over 80% of you watching are not subscribed to the channel yet. If you like what you see in the video and want to see more that Transformers lore has to offer, please consider subscribing. It'll help the channel grow, and it's a great free way to support me and video production on the channel. And hey, you can always unsubscribe later if you change your mind. But with that out of the way, let's jump into today's video. From the multiversal standpoint, the Beast Wars are a reoccurring event in the sense that they pop up in many different universes and time streams. The Beast Wars occur in the American Generation 1 cartoon universe, and they occur in the Japanese Generation 1 cartoon universe. They occur in the IDW Beast Wars universe, and they occur in the Wings universe. They're hinted at possibly even taking place in different Marvel-based comic continuities, and the Beast Wars even takes place in a Beast Wars continuity that is centralized around the Beast Wars cartoon that has its own version of events that take place in a G1-style universe, but not exactly any of the ones mentioned before. Because they happen in so many universes, some continuities have more to the Beast Wars than we see on screen. The USG1 cartoon universe includes two characters who were always there, but we just didn't see them. The IDW Beast Wars has a whole second Maximal Predacon conflict happening at the same time and place. For the purposes of this video, we'll be covering things in broad strokes that most of these universes have in common. I should also note that when the Beast Wars happens varies depending on which continuity, so please check out my video where I talk about when the Beast Wars takes place. I should also know that the length of the Beast Wars is unclear, and the naming of the Beast Wars is a bit off, as the war really is one war. But with all of those disclaimers out of the way, let's begin. Our story begins in the far future. A world where the Autobot-Decepticon war is over and the Autobots have won. However, a new generation of Transformer has emerged. The descendants of the Autobots, called the Maximals, and the descendants of the Decepticons, the Predacons. There are a lot of differing origins for these factions, so we won't really get into the who or why, but they're here on Cybertron. The governing body of the Maximals is the Maximal Imperium, led by the Maximal High Council, while the Predacons fall under the Predacon Alliance, led by the Tri-Predacus Council. As the Predacons are descent from the defeated Decepticons, the Predacons often feel like lower-class citizens on Cybertron. From the shadows, the Tri-Predacus Council plans a potential overthrow of the Maximal Imperium, but for the time being, they work subservient to the Maximals. The Maximals, meanwhile, enjoy science and exploration, though things can often go wrong. For example, on the off-world location of Pinea Omicron, the Maximals attempt to clone the immortal spark of the Decepticon officer Starscream. What results is a destructive and near-immortal being known as Protoform X. Protoform X slaughters all but the Maximal Death Charge, who devotes his life to pursuing Protoform X, eventually capturing him. Protoform X would be sealed in a stasis pod and placed on board the Axalon, a Maximal deep space exploration ship under the command of Optimus Primal. The Axalon has most of its crew in stasis pods for the long journey ahead, where they appear to revert to their protoform state. Meanwhile, one Predacon by the name of Cryotech has vital information regarding the Golden Disc. You see, in the 1970s, the United States launched a probe carrying a golden disc with information about the human race and Earth carved into it. During the Autobot-Decepticon war on Earth, Megatron discovered the golden disc and engraved a message into it, unveiling a plan for any Decepticon descendants in the event the Decepticons lose the war. You see, the Autobots and Decepticons crashed on Earth around 4 million years ago, landing inside a volcano that sent them into stasis lock for 4 million years until the 1980s, when the volcano would erupt, activating the Cybertronians and beginning the Great War once again. Megatron, knowing that transwarp technology is being developed that might one day lead to time travel being possible, theorizes that a Decepticon descendant could one day go back in time and enter the Ark while everyone is in stasis and kill Optimus Prime, the leader of the Autobots and Megatron's most troublesome foe. The death of Optimus Prime would, in Megatron's eyes, ensure Decepticon victory. This was the plan etched into the Golden Disc. The discontent Cryotech knows of the Golden Disc, although I should note in some continuities he is working alongside the Quintessons for his own power rather than overthrowing the Maximals alone, and trains a young, fiery, and discontent protege known simply as Megatron, named after the Decepticon commander of yore. Megatron grows tired of the Tripredacus Council and their long game, and Cryotech eventually tells Megatron of the plan on the Golden Disc. With this information, Megatron gathers a group of like-minded Predacons and sets out to steal the Golden Disc. Doing so, he uses the ship known as the Dark Side, outfitted with a transwarp device that can double as a time-traveling device. As Megatron escapes, the Maximal Imperium contacts Optimus Primal, captain of the Axelon, ordering him to pursue Megatron as the Axelon is the closest ship with a transwarp drive. Optimus Primal follows orders, following Megatron through time. The Dark Side and the Axelon emerge in the ancient past on Earth, though they initially don't believe it to be Earth thanks to the presence of 2 moons. This is because Earth, sometimes called Energoa during this time period, is protected by and serves as an experimental lab for a race of creatures called the Vok. Let's rewind and hop universes to the universe of the Marvel Generation 1 comic. In the 1990s, an abstract energy-consuming thing called the Swarm emerged as the consequence for uncontrolled budding. The Swarm went around the universe destroying everything it came across. Finally, the Swarm hit the planet Earth, destroying everything in its path and killing many humans in the process. No matter what defense the Autobots or G.I. Joe put up, they continued to fail. That is, until Optimus Prime was consumed by the Swarm. Before his death, Optimus Prime unleashed the power of the Matrix, which filled the Swarm with Primus's essence. Obtaining sentience and a moral compass, the Swarm deeply regretted the damage they did to the galaxy, especially to Earth and the human race. Seeking redemption, the Swarm became the multiversal traveling, near-omnipotent beings known as the Vok, and went back in time to guide human evolution on ancient Earth, in not just the Marvel Transformers universe, if they even did it to that universe, but to many universes. To do so, the Vok created various observation technologies and seeded the Earths, which I'm just going to collectively refer to as Earth singular now, with raw energon to help in its development. Which takes us back to the Axelon and the Dark Side. The 2 ships shoot each other down, prompting the Axelon to jettison its stasis pod cargo, which falls across Earth. Upon crashing on Earth, the Cybertronians find that the raw energon levels on Earth can fatally damage their systems. In order to prevent a full shutdown, the Cybertronians need to adapt to new forms with organic shielding from the energon. They scan local lifeforms and turn into local animals for protection. Spending too much time outside of their bases in robot form could lead to shutdown. The Maximals and Predacons begin clashes at this time, and soon the Predacon Dinobot betrays the Predacons and joins forces with the Maximals in the name of honor. Optimus Primal will be the Cybertronian that dubs the events as the Beast Wars. The traveling ghost of Starscream arrives during the Beast Wars for a time, possessing the Predacon Waspinator before being defeated and returning back to its original time period. As the Beast Wars continue, both the Maximals and Predacons activate and reprogram protoforms inside stasis pods while discovering more and more mysterious Vok artifacts, until the hostilities on the planet catch the attention of the Vok. Realizing an alien species has contaminated Earth, the Vok decide to terminate the project and start over again. This is why there's a second moon. In reality, it is a large, Vok-designed, planet-destroying device that's used to set off the energon deposits to destroy Earth. Optimus Primal sacrifices himself to destroy the Planet Buster, though the detonated raw energon will no longer become a problem. The destruction of the Vok device lets loose a transwarp wave that reformats some of the Maximals and Predacons into transmetals, while some protoforms will have alternate modes that combine two different types of animals into one form, known as fusors. Optimus Primal also returns as a transmetal, having been pulled out of the afterlife of the Allspark by Science Officer Rhinox. More Vok technology is discovered that results in the Maximals of Airraiser and Tigatron having their sparks removed and taken to the Vok Nebula, the home of the Vok. With the destruction of the second moon, Megatron begins to realize that he did indeed arrive on Earth, and begins his quest to alter time. Finding the valley from which ancient humans emerged from, Megatron attempts to wipe them out to prevent humanity from emerging to help the Autobots in the Great War. However, Dinobot fights off the Predacons and saves humanity, but dies in battle. From that point out, the Maximals begin to teach the ancient ancestors of humanity how to fend for themselves and help guide their evolution. Meanwhile in the future, does that make sense? The quantum surge that was released by the destruction of the Planet Buster reaches Cybertron, where the Tripredacus Council prevents the Maximal Imperium of learning of it. The Tripredacus Council then dispatches Ravage, a former Decepticon who is now a Predacon, to go hunt Megatron down, as he is an obstacle to the Tripredacus Council's slow game. Back in the Beast Wars, Protoform X emerges under the name of Rampage, who eventually joins the Predacons after Megatron obtains a fragment of Rampage's spark that can be used to harm him. When Ravage joins up with the Maximals manage to arrest Megatron. However, Megatron reveals to Ravage the message from the original Megatron on the Golden Disc. A Megatron loyalist, Ravage frees the Beast Megatron, but is destroyed in battle with the Maximals. Megatron reaches the Ark and shoots the head of the dormant Optimus Prime, but is defeated by the Maximals at the last minute. As a time storm erupts, the Maximals barely manage to stabilize Optimus Prime's condition, and Optimus Primal is forced to carry Prime's spark if he is to survive, reformatting Optimus Primal into a Transmetal 2, known as Optimal Optimus. Prime's spark is restored, and Optimus Prime wakes up for a mere moment to gaze upon Optimus Primal, before returning to stasis. Transmetal 2 technology is introduced to the field as the Maximals fortify the Ark to defend it from the Predacons, since the Axelon was destroyed in battle, as was the Dark Side for that matter. Depth Charge arrives from the future in his mad quest to get revenge on Rampage, though both will eventually die in battle. Inspired by the changes made when Primal took in Optimus Prime's spark, Megatron manages to get the original Megatron spark into his own body, becoming a Transmetal 2 as well. Working alongside a clone of Dinobot, Megatron hunts down the Decepticon warship, the Nemesis. Meanwhile, the Time Storm once again draws the attention of the Vok, who merge Tigatron and Airraiser's spark into one being known as Tigerhawk, sending Tigerhawk to kill the Beast Warriors. The Maximals manage to bring Tigerhawk to their own side as Megatron brings the Nemesis up to destroy the Ark. A large battle takes place where Tigerhawk dies, but the Maximals defeat Megatron. The spark of the original Megatron is returned to his body, and the Maximals take an Autobot shuttle from the Ark, outfitting it with a transwarp drive. Megatron is tied to the top of the shuttle as the Maximals fly to return to their time and Cybertron, bringing the Beast Wars to a close. I just want to say that I love the Beast Wars. It's a perfectly crafted representation of what happens when a show actually cares for its lore. Right now, Transformers Cyberverse is hailed for drawing from Transformers lore. Don't get me wrong, Cyberverse is okay, but it really doesn't work with the lore in the same way Beast Wars does. Beast Wars is a radical shift from the usual Autobot Decepticon narrative and takes everything we know about Transformers and turns it on its head. The wonderful and unique characters of Beast Wars are also a big plus, but I also think they make up half of what made Beast Wars so great, with the other half being the interaction with the lore. The moment Ravage betrays the Maximals because of his loyalty to the original Megatron, the sense of awe when we see the Ark for the first time after nearly 2 seasons of buildup, There is so much to love about Beast Wars, but I personally feel that many who like Beast Wars don't actually realize why Beast Wars was so great. I say this because I see so many people rallying for more Beast Wars and for a Beast Wars movie, when I feel like we're missing the point at this point. A movie will not have the build-up and the pacing and the context the TV show had. I suppose I can understand why somebody would want more Beast Wars content based on their love for the characters, but the characters all had their role in the story and they played it perfectly. End scene. It's okay to love something and then say, alright, I love it, and I love it for what it is. Part of what makes a good story is the ending, and I feel any effort to, say, make a Beast Wars movie is just nostalgia milking at that point. Something that's more hollow and, in a way, more cynical than the original vision that was full of love, creativity, and originality. When I see many people calling for more Beast Wars or a Beast Wars live-action movie for some reason, I can't help but think that, as a Beast Wars fan, a Beast Wars live-action movie is literally the last thing I want. I love Beast Wars, but I don't want more of it. I want more of things like it. I want to see more Transformers fiction not afraid to take drastic risks, but still respectful to the previously established lore that it almost seems like a love letter to the original despite being so different. And I think that many people who love Beast Wars think the same way. They might not realize what made Beast Wars so great. It wasn't the fact that the Beast Wars show was the Beast Wars franchise, it's the fact that the Beast Wars show was good. And that's going to wrap up today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I do videos on a range of topics that includes history and Transformers, so if you're a nerd who likes nerdy things, consider subscribing to the channel. Like I said before, 80% of you haven't subscribed yet. It's free and you can always unsubscribe later. Don't forget to check out all my social media links in the description to see what's going on with me, and if you really want to go the extra mile to support me, consider supporting me on Patreon. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a great day, ladies and gentlemen.
Just won't do. I need your premium. I want it all.